I can tell you for sure, we're dealing with the same bank that Bob's dealing with, and there is some financial stress for sure throughout, and it's not as much just what the bank thinks anymore, but they're having auditors come in that are seeing it from an outside standpoint that are zero background in agriculture, that are putting financial stress on the bank as well. And so for a young first-time farmer, you either get into it so small and work up over the next 30 years, or you jump to your eyeballs and work out of it. And yeah, so the big thing to think about with me is we're talking 120 acres to my name. And in this area, that 120 acres was bought in the last, say, coming on 10 years is when the first chunk was bought. And so it's not paid for. And they can't use it as collateral because we're using it with FSA on a first-time farm loan, which has been great for us. I mean, that was definitely the startup of this operation, was based off of the first-time farm loan through FSA. And that's where we got into starting this operation, because we went to a bank, and when you started talking about buying 160 acres, the bank said no. There's no way you'll be able to pay for it. And they were right. There's just flat no way to pencil out buying 160 acres right now. The exact same total dollar amount, I was able to approach FSA and say, I want to build this facility. This is what I can do. There's my 10 years of records on sheep. We want to move to this. And we were able to get that loan. And so it was, we always talk about out of the box. I mean, that was the start of it. Got the facility up and running, got the numbers of ewes, but like I said, it was never the long-term goal that we're always going to be in confinement. I mean, I truly think anything out on grass for as long as period of time as you can is the way to go, but we had to have a balance and a financially balance. And nothing was worse for us than saying, all right, well, we're just going to have to bow out of being involved in livestock or agriculture for these few years until we can come up with a grass lease. But the hard thing with that is if you're not in it, then you seem to not be the guy that your neighbor is going to approach and say, hey, would you be interested in taking over our cows? Because not being in it means you have to have an outside job. And if you're not there and available and truly running that agriculture in a community, they're not going to approach you and say, hey, you want to give up your full-time job to run my cows? Yeah. So I really think it has to be a fine balance. But yeah, I will say, me definitely, you have to be willing to be in debt. That's the difference with me and Bob at this point is we have a heavy debt load, but we wanted to come up with a goal that, all right, in 5 years, can we reduce this? Because nothing's worse than having to pay someone $30,000 in interest a year when we could have just not had it, and I could have had a job in town sitting behind a desk actually earning that $30,000. You know what I'm saying?
Or you could be doing the same thing for somebody else.
Yeah.
Making money with just no vested interest.
Yeah. And so that was, for me, I wanted to have a vested interest. You do better work when there's a reward for you and not just for someone else. And the happy balance that we have with Bob and Becky, their thought is family. And so we want to be successful, but they need to be successful too to even want to work with us.
Yeah.